Welcome to Gunners Central. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss any Arsenal updates. Arsenal's long-term recruitment strategy under Mikel Arteta and sporting director Andrea Berta continues to focus heavily on identifying elite young talents across Europe, and one name that has increasingly emerged as a serious point of internal discussion is AC Milan defender Davide Bartesaghi, with respected Italian journalist Carlo Pellegatti raising fresh concerns that the Rossoneri could be tempted to cash in on the highly rated 19-year-old if English interest intensifies, particularly from Arsenal, who have been monitoring his development closely for several months now. A situation that reflects the Gunners' wider policy of targeting young, versatile defenders capable of growing into elite-level performers within Arteta's demanding tactical system. And Pellegatti's comments have added fuel to speculation by suggesting that Milan's hierarchy may struggle to resist the financial appeal of a Premier League offer if Arsenal decide to formalise their interest, especially given the significant capital gain involved, as Bartesaghi is a homegrown academy product whose sale would represent pure profit on Milan's balance sheet, something Italian clubs are often forced to consider in the modern financial landscape, even when dealing with players seen as part of their future. And Pellegatti's fear, as he described it, centres on the idea that English sirens could be too loud to ignore, with Arsenal named above all others as the club most closely tracking the defender. A claim that aligns with earlier reports from October when Pellegatti first revealed that Arsenal scouts had been dispatched to Italy to watch Bartesaghi in action during Milan's high-profile clash with Juventus, a match chosen specifically because it represented a genuine test of the teenager's composure, defensive intelligence, and ability to perform under pressure against elite opposition. Qualities that Arsenal value enormously as they look to build a squad capable not only of winning the Premier League, but also competing consistently in the latter stages of the Champions League. And while Milan attempted to protect themselves from growing interest by tying Bartesaghi down to a new 5-year contract until 2030 back in May, that move now appears more like a positioning tactic to strengthen their negotiating stance rather than an absolute guarantee that the player will remain at the San Siro, particularly if Arsenal or another Premier League club arrives with a substantial offer that reflects both Bartesaghi's current level and his enormous future potential. Because despite his young age, Bartesaghi has already demonstrated maturity beyond his years, breaking into Milan's first-team setup and delivering moments that have inevitably drawn comparisons to club legend Paolo Maldini, a comparison that intensified earlier this month when Bartesaghi became the youngest defender since Maldini himself to score twice for Milan, achieving that milestone in an impressive 2-2 draw against Sassuolo, a performance that showcased not only his defensive solidity, but also his growing confidence and threat in advanced areas, an attribute that modern fullbacks are increasingly required to possess. And the parallels with Maldini extend beyond mere statistics, as both players began their careers primarily as left-backs before eventually transitioning into more central defensive roles. A pathway that many observers believe Bartesaghi is destined to follow, given his remarkable physical profile, standing at an imposing 6'5", a height that naturally lends itself to centre-back responsibilities as he continues to develop physically and tactically. Yet crucially, Bartesaghi has shown that he is comfortable operating in multiple positions across the back line, including left-back, left centre-back, and even in a back three, versatility that fits perfectly with Arteta's tactical demands at Arsenal, where defenders are expected to be technically secure, positionally intelligent, and capable of stepping into midfield or wide areas depending on the phase of play. And this is precisely why Arsenal's interest should be taken seriously rather than dismissed as speculative noise. Because the club's recruitment team has repeatedly shown that they are willing to invest heavily in defenders they believe can form the spine of the team for the next decade, as seen with the signings of William Saliba, Gabriel Magalhaes, Ben White, and Jurrien Timber, all of whom were identified not just for their current ability, but for their long-term ceiling. And Bartesaghi appears to fit that profile almost perfectly, especially at a time when Arsenal are facing ongoing injury concerns in defence, with Gabriel, Saliba, Ben White, and other key figures having all spent time on the sidelines this season, exposing the need for greater depth and long-term succession planning. And while Bartesaghi would not necessarily arrive as an immediate guaranteed starter, His potential role as a rotational option who can be gradually integrated into the squad while learning under Arteta's guidance is an appealing proposition, particularly given Arsenal's track record of successfully developing young defenders into elite performers, something that could be attractive to Bartesaghi himself as he considers his next career step, especially in light of the intense competition for places at Milan and the financial realities facing Serie A clubs. And it is also worth noting that Arsenal are far from alone in their admiration of the teenager, with clubs such as Barcelona, Bayer Leverkusen, and Everton also monitoring his progress, underlining the widespread belief across Europe that Bartesaghi is one of the most promising defensive talents of his generation. Yet Arsenal's advantage may lie in their clear sporting project, their stability under Arteta, and the opportunity to play in the Premier League, widely regarded as the most competitive and visible league in the world, factors that could sway both player and club if negotiations were ever to progress beyond the scouting phase. Although Milan are reportedly determined to demand a significant fee, aware that Liverpool previously failed with an approach during the summer, suggesting that the Rossoneri value Bartesaghi not only as a financial asset, but as a potential cornerstone of their future defence. And this creates an intriguing dynamic where Arsenal must weigh the cost of a possible deal against their broader transfer priorities, particularly as they also seek reinforcements in attack and midfield. Yet with Bartesaghi's age, profile and potential resale value, the investment could be justified even at a premium price, especially if Arteta believes he can mould the Italian into a hybrid defender capable of fulfilling multiple roles within his system, a role that has become increasingly important as Arsenal continue to evolve tactically, pushing fullbacks into midfield, asking centre-backs to defend wide spaces, and demanding a high level of technical proficiency from every player on the pitch. And while no formal bid has yet been made, the growing volume of reports from Italy combined with Arsenal's established scouting activity suggests that this is a situation worth watching closely, particularly as the January and summer transfer windows approach. Because if Milan's hierarchy begins to seriously consider the financial implications of a sale and Arsenal decide to accelerate their interest, Davide Bartesaghi could become the next young defensive talent to make the leap from Serie A to the Premier League, following a path that has already proven successful for several Italian-based defenders in recent years. And for Arsenal, securing a player of Bartesaghi's profile would not only strengthen their squad depth, but also reinforce their reputation as a destination for elite young talent. A club where potential is nurtured, ambition is rewarded, and the pathway to the top is clearly defined under Arteta's meticulous leadership, making this a transfer story that may yet develop into something far more concrete as the months unfold. So let's go into other transfer story. Welcome to Gunners Central. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss any Arsenal updates. Today we are going dive into three huge stories about Tony Fruck, Ousmane Dembélé transfer twist and Marco Palestra, so let's dive in. Arsenal have once again found themselves linked with an emerging continental talent, but reports claiming the Gunners are pushing ahead with a move for Rijeka attacking midfielder Tony Fruck have been firmly played down, with sources close to both the player and the club insisting there is no substance to the speculation. Over recent days, media outlets in Croatia suggested Arsenal were making progress on a potential £7.8 million deal for the 24-year-old, prompting excitement among supporters eager to see the club continue investing in creative attacking options. Yet Football.London understands that no talks have taken place and that Arsenal have not entered the race for Fruck's signature. Those close to the situation have made it clear that Mikel Arteta's squad planning does not currently include the Croatia international, largely because the club already feels well covered in the areas Fruck would occupy. Arsenal's creative midfield department is stacked with elite quality and emerging talent, headlined by captain Martin Ødegaard, whose influence remains central to Arteta's system, alongside Eberechi Eze, who has cemented his reputation as one of the most dynamic attacking midfielders in the Premier League. Added to that is the club's enormous belief in Ethan Nwaneri, the 18-year-old prodigy who continues to impress internally and is viewed as a long-term solution rather than a player in need of immediate competition. Against that backdrop, Arsenal see little sense in pursuing another attacking midfielder, particularly one whose priority is regular first-team minutes ahead of next summer's World Cup finals in North America. Fruck's representatives have also moved quickly to dampen the rumours, with his agent Andy Barra publicly suggesting that links to Arsenal were likely exaggerated following his recent business trip to London, rather than being rooted in concrete negotiations. Barra, who runs Niagara Sports Company and represents high-profile players such as Barcelona midfielder Dani Olmo and goalkeeper Joan Garcia, acknowledged that meetings had taken place in London earlier in the week, but stopped short of confirming any Arsenal involvement. Football. London understands that while Barra did meet with interested parties on Monday and Tuesday, it remains unclear whether Brighton or Everton were present at those discussions, though those two clubs are currently the only Premier League sides to have made routine exploratory checks on Fruck. Even then, sources stress it is far too early to suggest either Brighton or Everton are preparing a serious bid, with both clubs known for monitoring a wide pool of talent before committing to any move. Fruck himself continues to focus on his football at Rijeka, where he has enjoyed a productive campaign, scoring 10 goals and registering 2 assists in 26 appearances across all competitions, form that has naturally attracted attention from abroad. However, a move to Arsenal at this stage would represent a significant leap in both competition and expectation, something the players' camp is keen to manage carefully, given his desire for consistent playing time. Arsenal's stance also reflects a broader shift in their recruitment strategy under Arteta, with the club now far more selective about additions and reluctant to disrupt squad harmony without a clear pathway for immediate impact. That approach was evident during the summer of 2024, when Arsenal were linked with Espanyol goalkeeper Joan Garcia, another client of Barra, only for sporting director Andrea Berta to pivot towards a more cost-effective solution by securing Kepa Arrizabalaga instead. It is a reminder that Arsenal's transfer decisions are increasingly driven by structure, balance, and long-term planning rather than opportunistic deals. While Fruck remains a player of genuine promise and could yet secure a move to one of Europe's top leagues, Arsenal do not view him as a priority target and are unlikely to change that position unless circumstances shift dramatically. For now, the noise surrounding his name appears to be more a product of speculation and timing than genuine interest from North London, underlining once again how easily Arsenal's profile can inflate rumours without firm foundations behind them. Let's skip to second stories about Arsenal's ongoing search for elite attacking reinforcements could take a dramatic and ambitious turn in the coming months, with growing reports from France suggesting that Ousmane Dembélé is becoming increasingly unsettled at Paris Saint-Germain, a situation that has naturally placed Europe's top clubs, including the Gunners, on quiet alert. While there is currently no suggestion of an immediate move, the sense of unease surrounding the 28-year-old attacker has raised eyebrows given the heights he reached only a short time ago when he enjoyed the finest season of his career and was rewarded with both the Ballon d'Or and FIFA's The Best Award. Dembele's rise to that level followed the departure of Kylian Mbappe to Real Madrid, a moment that allowed the former Barcelona winger to step out of the shadows and become the undisputed focal point of Luis Enrique's PSG side, leading them to domestic dominance and a historic first Champions League triumph capped by a stunning 5-0 demolition of Inter Milan in the final. That campaign appeared to mark the complete transformation of Dembele from a mercurial talent into a consistent, decisive leader capable of carrying a team at the highest level. However, football rarely follows a straight line, and the current season has proven far more complicated. 2 significant muscle injuries disrupted Dembele's momentum and limited his ability to rediscover the rhythm and explosiveness that defined his award-winning campaign. While PSG's medical and coaching staff have adopted a cautious approach to managing his minutes, prioritizing long-term fitness, that strategy has reportedly caused frustration for the player himself, who believes he is ready to contribute more regularly from the start. The situation came to a head when Dembele was restricted to just a brief 15-minute cameo in the Intercontinental Cup clash against Flamengo, a decision that has been widely cited in French media as a flashpoint in his relationship with the club. For a player of Dembele's stature, who only months earlier was central to PSG's greatest achievement, such limited involvement has reportedly fueled doubts about his role and standing within the squad. Arsenal enter this conversation because of the specific profile Mikel Arteta is targeting as he looks to elevate his squad from title challengers to champions. The Spaniard is known to value attackers who combine technical quality with tactical intelligence, versatility, and a willingness to work within a collective structure, traits that Dembele now embodies far more consistently than earlier in his career. Capable of operating on either wing, drifting centrally, or even leading the line in fluid attacking systems, Dembele would give Arteta multiple tactical options and reduce the predictability that can sometimes creep into Arsenal's play against deep defensive blocks. Once questioned for his durability and decision-making during his Barcelona years, Dembele has largely silenced those criticisms through his performances at PSG, demonstrating improved fitness management, sharper end product, and greater responsibility both on and off the ball. Analytical data supports the idea that Arsenal could be an excellent fit should the player decide to seek a new challenge. Sky Sports career advice tool has identified the Emirates Stadium as one of the most suitable destinations for Dembele, awarding Arsenal a strong club fit score of 83 based on factors such as playing style compatibility, expected playing time, squad balance, and tactical demands. According to the model, Dembele's effectiveness at Arsenal would be only marginally lower than his peak output at PSG, particularly within a system that encourages wide players to attack space aggressively while also contributing to pressing and defensive transitions. Despite the intrigue, the financial and logistical hurdles remain substantial. Dembele is under contract with PSG until 2028, giving the French champions a strong negotiating position, and his estimated transfer value of close to 100 million euros reflects both his recent achievements and his standing among Europe's elite attackers. Any deal would require significant investment and careful planning from Arsenal, who would also face competition from other top clubs should Dembele formally push for a move. A January transfer is widely viewed as unrealistic, with PSG unlikely to welcome disruption mid-season, but the summer window presents a more plausible opportunity if tensions continue to simmer. For now, Arsenal are expected to monitor developments rather than act aggressively, but the combination of player dissatisfaction, positional need, and stylistic compatibility ensures that Dembele's situation will remain firmly on the club's radar. If circumstances align, what currently feels like a distant possibility could yet evolve into one of the most ambitious and statement-making signings of Arteta's tenure, underlining Arsenal's growing confidence and willingness to operate at the very top of the transfer market. The third one is Arsenal's long-term recruitment strategy continues to draw attention across Europe, and the latest reports linking the Gunners to Atalanta starlet Marco Palestra underline just how competitive the market has become for emerging defensive talents, with the North London club reportedly locked in an intense seven-way battle ahead of the January transfer window. Mikel Arteta's side currently hold a narrow advantage at the top of the Premier League table, but the first half of the season has once again highlighted how quickly momentum can be disrupted by injuries, particularly in defensive areas. Arsenal have already been forced to cope without key figures such as Gabriel Magalhaes, William Saliba, Christian Mosquera and Ben White at various points, stretching squad depth and prompting constant reshuffling across the back line. While Arteta has praised the adaptability and mentality of his players, there is a growing sense that additional defensive reinforcement could be required if Arsenal are to sustain their title push across multiple competitions. Against that backdrop, attention has turned to Serie A, where Palestra has quietly emerged as one of the most closely monitored young defenders in Italy, despite limited first-team exposure. According to a report from Court Offside, Arsenal are one of 7 clubs outside Italy tracking the 20-year-old on a near-weekly basis, with Premier League rivals Chelsea and Manchester United also heavily involved in the chase, while European heavyweights Atletico Madrid, Barcelona and Bayern Munich are said to be keeping close tabs on his development as well. That level of interest alone speaks volumes about Palestra's perceived ceiling, particularly given that he has started just 4 matches for Atalanta's senior side and is currently gaining experience on loan at Cagliari. The fact that scouts from so many elite clubs are reportedly watching him every week suggests that his potential, rather than his current output, is driving this surge in attention. A familiar pattern for Arsenal under Arteta, who have increasingly targeted players capable of developing within the club's tactical framework rather than ready-made stars. One significant obstacle for Arsenal and their rivals is Atalanta's stance on any potential sale, with the Europa League winners believed to be in no rush to cash in on one of their prized assets. Reports indicate that Atalanta would only consider negotiations at a price between £30 million and £35 million, a substantial fee for a player still early in his senior career, and one that reflects the club's confidence in both his ability and future market value. Liverpool's failed approach during the summer window further underlines Atalanta's resolve, suggesting they see greater long-term benefit in Palestra's on-field contributions than in accepting a quick financial return. For Arsenal, that presents a familiar dilemma: whether to commit significant resources to a high-upside prospect amid fierce competition, or to continue prioritising internal solutions and more established targets. What makes Palestra particularly attractive is his versatility, a trait that aligns closely with Arteta's philosophy. Although primarily regarded as a right-back, the Italian has spent considerable time operating in midfield roles, demonstrating comfort on the ball, positional intelligence, and the ability to contribute in multiple phases of play. He has also shown he can function on the opposite flank when required, offering coaches flexibility in both defensive structure and in-game adjustments, qualities that are highly valued at the Emirates Stadium. During his loan spell at Cagliari, Palestra has become an immediate starter and has begun to showcase his creative side, registering 3 assists in 15 appearances, an encouraging return for a player still refining his attacking output. Those numbers hint at a modern fullback profile, capable not only of defensive solidity, but also of supporting build-up play and providing width or midfield cover, depending on tactical demands. For Arsenal, who often ask their fullbacks to invert into midfield or overlap aggressively, such adaptability would be a natural fit. However, questions remain over whether Palestra is ready to make the jump to a club with Premier League and Champions League ambitions, particularly given his limited experience at the highest level. That uncertainty is perhaps the only factor tempering the enthusiasm surrounding his potential move. But it is also what makes the competition for his signature so fierce, as clubs seek to secure his services before his value escalates further. With January approaching, Arsenal face a decision on whether to enter what is shaping up to be a heavyweight transfer battle or to bide their time and revisit the situation in the summer. As things stand, Palestra's rise appears inevitable given the sheer volume of interest surrounding him, and the key questions now revolve around where his future lies, and whether Arsenal can convince Atalanta to part with a player they clearly believe could become one of the next standout products of Italian football.